Hey everybody, it's Chris, and it is time at last to do my Paladin Subclass ranking video. So I have, over the last couple of months, because the videos have been interspersed between other things, but for the last couple of months I've been covering the Paladin Subclasses in the Player's Handbook, and what I do is I give them a star ranking for each level that they get features. For Paladins, that's levels 3, 7, 15, and 20. So you should already know how those ones rank amongst each other if you watch those videos. If not, I'll be recapping it in today's video. But this video, I will rank them all against each other, including the Paladin subclasses that are not in the Player's Handbook. So, of course, I'm going to have to give star rankings to all their features as well. And then I will give you a ranking of Paladin subclasses for level 3, for level 7, for level 15, and for level 20. And whenever I do a level that is higher than 3, it will include the previous levels as well. So when I do a ranking for level 15, I am considering their level 15 features as well as their level 7 and level 3 features. And so the rankings will change from level to level. This, of course, is all based on my opinions and experience. And if your opinions and experience are different, that's fine. This is all subjective stuff. We're going to have different opinions on some things. That said, if I cover any of the Player's Handbook rankings here, and you don't know why I gave a certain level, a certain number of stars, then you need to go check out those videos, which I have linked in the video description, because I explain my rankings for each level in those videos. Whether you agree with my reasoning or not, my reasoning is given, and I'm not going to give it again in this video. I'm going to kind of breeze through the Player's Handbook ones. So we're going to start with level 3. I'm not going to talk much more about how it's going to work. Let's just get into it. And we begin with the subclasses that I've already covered, so I'm going to go over them quickly. And we begin with the Oath of Glory, and their level 3 features are Inspiring Smite, their Oath of Glory spells, and Peerless Athlete, and I gave that 2 stars total, so a little below average. This is from 1 to 5 stars, so 3 means average, right? So a little below average for the Glory Paladin at level 3. Then we move on to Oath of Ancients, and at level 3 they get Nature's Wrath, the Oath of Ancient spells, and I gave that 2 stars as well, so also below average. Don't worry, if you go through any of the levels here, I considered all the paladins when I ranked these, so there will be higher than average star rankings for all levels as well. So here's Oath of Vengeance, and at level 3 they get their Oath of Vengeance spells and Vow of Enmity, and I gave this 4 stars. And Oath of Vengeance, actually, I'm going to talk about just a little bit extra, not so much the features of the Vengeance Paladin, but viewers' reaction to my star ranking here of 4. So my goal for any of these star rankings, or at least my expectation, would be that I'm going to read the comments to videos, and some people are going to think I gave things too few stars, and some people are going to think I gave things too many stars, and some people will agree. And generally, that's where it ends up. Once in a while, there's more people on the you didn't give it enough stars, or there's more people on the you gave it too many stars side. And that usually helps me gauge where my opinion lies in relation to the community as a whole. But Vengeance was a little different. Vengeance, very few people actually agreed with my 4-star ranking, at least in the comments. I know a lot of people watch and they agree, and they're not going to write a comment saying, I agree, right? But I read the comments on videos, and what I noticed different about the Vengeance Paladin is there were way more comments saying that this 4-star ranking was way off, because there were a lot of people who felt that Vow of Enmity was the best Paladin feature in the game. Boom, bar none. How could anyone give this less than 5 stars? And there were a lot of people who thought Vow of Enmity is not anywhere near worth 4 stars. It should be worth far less. And I just found that the viewers' opinions on Vengeance Paladin were far more polarized. Now, I will say that from the comments I read, the number of people who felt I overrated it and the people who felt I underrated it, it seemed like a similar number of people. So it's not like I went way more on one side or the other side. I was still pretty close to the middle of the viewer opinion. I just noticed the viewer opinion was way more polarized for vengeance than any of the other Paladin subclasses, which I found interesting. Anyway, on to Oath of Devotion. So at level 3, they get their Oath of Devotion spells and Sacred Weapon, and I gave this one 5 stars. And the only Paladin that is going to get 5 stars at level 3. So now we're going to get into the subclasses where I need to explain my rankings. So we're going to start with the Oath of Conquest. So this one was in Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Now, I've got everything on screen here for the flavor text. I'm not going to read through it all. I imagine most of you know it. But to summarize, the Oath of Conquest, they're tyrannical. They want to stomp down any dissent. That's Oath of Conquest. And if you want to play an evil paladin, Oath of Conquest is very appropriate. And they get their oath spells, and they get, I guess I need to actually explain my rankings here. So their oath spells are Armor of Agathis and Command at level 3. That's great. Armor of Agathis is good. Command is good. Armor of Agathis has a long enough duration that you can probably, most of the time, cast it before combat. Command, of course, is going to be cast during combat, and it means that you won't be taking the attack action on the turn you cast it, which is a little tough, but Command is a very good spell. Then we're going to go to Hold Person and Spiritual Weapon at level 5, and yeah, that's a no for me. Hold Person is good when it lands, I guess, but there's a lot of creatures it doesn't work against, of course, and it's all or nothing. And then Spiritual Weapon, in the 2024 rules, it's just not worth it. And it uses your bonus action every round, and Paladins don't have their bonus action. So it's really a bad spell to give a Paladin. It was much better in the 2014 rules because your bonus action could be free, and it didn't use your concentration. Then at 9th level, we have Bestow Curse and Fear. Fear is a good spell. Bestow Curse, not so much. Dominate Beast and Stone Skin at level 13. Not my choice, I'll tell you. And then 17th level, Cloud Kill and Dominate Person. Again, not my choice. So I think they do well at their early levels, which, of course, affects our level 3 ranking. So Armor of Agathis and Command at level 3 is good. It's just, be aware it's not going to stay good. Then our Channel Divinity. So we're going to get Conquering Presence. There's 2 Channel Divinities, and I think they're both fairly decent. The first one is Conquering Presence. You can use your Channel Divinity to exude a terrifying presence. As an action, you force each creature of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of you to make a Wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, a creature becomes frightened of you for 1 minute. The frightened creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. At level 3, I think this is a good feature. At level 9, it is redundant because Paladins now get Abjure Foes at level 9, and Abjure Foes is better than this. It's got a 60-foot range. It's not giving them a saving throw necessarily every round, so we're never going to use this again. When we get to level 9, we'll use Abjure Foes instead. But at level 3, it's pretty decent. I just don't think it stays all that good. And then we get Guided Strike. You can use your Channel Divinity with supernatural accuracy. When you make an attack roll, you can use your Channel Divinity to get a plus 10 to the roll. And you make that choice after you see the roll. So, you roll poorly, add plus 10, good chance you'll hit anyways. Plus 10 is a big bonus. And I could see it maybe if it's really important you hit at least once and you weren't going to hit once, then I could see using it maybe, but Channel Divinity is a lot to get 1 hit. But this isn't using an action or a bonus action or anything like that, so I think it's okay. And I'm giving them 3 stars. I consider it 4 because I do think their spells are pretty good at level 3. Conquering Presence, I think, is decent at level 3, but yeah, it becomes redundant at level 9. So it's okay, and Guided Strike is okay. So, yeah, it was maybe 3.5, and I kind of went back and forth between 3 and 4. But, if you think it's 4, I totally understand that. Then we have the Oath of Redemption. This was also in Xanathar's, and if Oath of Conquest is the bad guy paladin, then Oath of Redemption is the good guy paladin. The Oath of Redemption is the paladin who believes that evil can definitely be reformed. So, they defeat the bad guy. The Oath of Redemption is the one who's definitely going to let the bad guy live. and they're definitely going to give him another chance. That's still the redemption. And yeah, that's them in a nutshell. They get their oath spells that include Sanctuary and Sleep at level 3. That's a good list. Sanctuary, I think, is very strong on a Paladin, though they can get it anyways. And Sleep is not quite as strong on a Paladin, but it's decent. Then Calm Emotions and Hold Person at level 5. Calm Emotions, circumstantial, but can be useful. Hold Person, I talked about already. Then we get Counterspell and a Hypnotic Pattern at 9. These are both good spells. And Counterspell I really like on a Paladin because we're not necessarily using our reaction for anything else. Hypnotic Pattern's a little tougher because, we're level 9. Other casters have had it for 4 levels already. And we potentially have been focusing on strength over charisma, so we might not have the highest DC for that either. But Hypnotic Pattern is a very good spell. So it's still a good spell to have on here. Autoluke's Resilient Sphere and Stone Skin at level 13. It's okay. 17th level Hold Monster, and then Wall of Force. Now, Wall of Force is very notable because it's one of those spells that is infamous or famous in D&D for being very, very powerful. Thing is at 17th level, other casters have been able to cast it for 8 levels. Well, other wizards have been able to cast it for 8 levels, not necessarily everyone. And Clockwork Sorcerers, I guess, can cast it as well, and Bards. Thing is 17th level is very late for Wall of Force to come on. So I don't think that's that big a deal anymore when you are a Paladin, getting your 5th level spells. And the things you can do with 5th level spells with a Paladin are pretty significant. Wall of Force not a big factor. But yeah, I like Sanctuary at level 3 for sure. Then we get our Channel Divinities. Again, we get 2 of them. Emissary of Peace, you can use your Channel Divinity to augment your presence with Divine Power. As a bonus action, you grant yourself +5 bonus to Charisma Persuasion checks for the next 10 minutes. It's okay. Paladin with Persuasion checks is probably pretty good most of the time without the +5. But yeah, it's okay to have. And then Rebuke the Violent. You can use your Channel Divinity to rebuke those who use violence immediately after an attacker within 30 feet of you deals damage with an attack against a creature other than you. You can use your reaction to force the attacker to make a Wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the attacker takes radiant damage equal to the damage it just dealt. On a successful save, it takes half as much damage. I think this is okay, and this is a 3-star feature. Then we have Oath of the Crown. This one is from the Sword Coast Adventurers Guide, and if you know anything about the Sword Coast Adventurers Guide, right now your stomach should be dropping because everything in the Sword Coast Adventurers Guide is bad. And yeah, with the Paladin, it's not much different. So the Oath of the Crown, in a nutshell, they're very, very loyal to the monarch. They like to, they're the cops. That's what they are. The Oath of the Crown are the cops of the realm. And Oath spells, the Oath spells are actually decent. You get Command and Compelled Duel at level 3. Compelled Duel isn't actually very good, though I like it thematically. The mechanics are poor. Command, I talked about already. Level 5, Warding Bond and Zone of Truth. These are decent spells. Level 9, Aura Vitality and Spirit Guardians. And the standout here is Spirit Guardians, not normally available to Paladins. And for a Paladin, Spirit Guardians is a really good spell because you're a melee character, and Spirit Guardians is one of those spells that requires you getting close. I like Spirit Guardians on Paladin a lot. And if we look at their previous spells, these are mostly spells that Paladins can cast anyways. Level 13, Banishment and Guardian of Faith are both decent spells. And level 17, Circle of Power and Gesh. Gesh kind of sucks. Circle of Power is already a Paladin spell, but it's a good one, right? If I'm a Paladin of 17th level, there's a good chance I'm preparing Circle of Power anyways. So this frees up a preparation for me, so that's decent. And then our Channel Divinity options, so like the other non-Player's Handbook Paladins, they all have 2. The same for Oath of the Crown. Here's the first one. Champion Challenge. As a bonus action, you issue a challenge that compels other creatures to do battle with you. Each creature of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of you must make a Wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, a creature can't willingly move more than 30 feet away from you. And that's it. The effect ends on a creature if you are incapacitated or die if the creature is more than 30 feet away from you. That's terrible. It just doesn't do much. They can't move more than 30 feet away from you. That probably isn't what they wanted to do anyway. So for the most part, I think this doesn't do much at all. And it's using your bonus action, which you needed for a smite that probably would do more to affect the combat than Champion Challenge, even if they fail their save. For most creatures, I think it really wouldn't matter if they make their save or not. So if you're hoping to even drain legendary resistances, if I'm the DM, I don't know if I'm bothering using a legendary resistance if I fail against this. I have to stay where I probably wanted to be anyways. Oh, big deal. So yeah, I'm not a fan, obviously. And then Turn the Tide. By the way, I'm giving this 1 star. As a bonus action, you can bolster injured creatures with your Channel Divinity. Each creature of your choice that can hear you within 30 feet of you regains hit points equal to a d6 plus your Charisma modifier if it has no more than half its hit points. The last qualifier is what does it for me, and brings this from okay to not very good. How many of your allies are going to be below half hit points at the same time? And even if they are, a d6 plus your Charisma modifier just isn't very much. When we consider this to a mass healing word or something like that, this is just so much worse. Or an aid spell, right? This just is not very good. And this qualifier of no more than half their hit points is unnecessary. And then the only really good thing that we've seen so far is that they get Spirit Guardians, but that's not to level 9. So I don't really consider that as my level 3 rankings. I'll consider it more when I get to level 7. Then we get to the Oath of the Watchers Paladin, and the summary for the Oath of the Watchers Paladin is they are the paladins that protect our world from creatures from other worlds, like elementals and fae and fiends and even potentially celestials. The Oath of the Watchers are the ones who watch those extraplanar creatures come in and then they get rid of them. So that's the Oath of the Watchers. And at level 3, they're going to get their spells, which include Alarm and Detect Magic. Terrible. Well, it depends. If you have a wizard in your party, these are already covered. Detect Magic is a good spell, but yeah, if you have a wizard in your party, they already have Alarm and Detect Magic, and a bunch of other rituals, and they can cast them at will. And they don't need to prepare any of them. Now, if you don't have a wizard in your party, then it is tough to fit rituals on your preparation list, so then maybe Detect Magic is useful here. But Alarm's not that great a spell, even though it is a ritual. Then at level 5, we get Moonbeam and See Invisibility. Moonbeam's a decent spell. See Invisibility, I guess, can be useful in the right circumstances, but it's really circumstantial. And, of course, it's an action to cast, too. Level 9, we get Counterspell, which I like on a Paladin. Already talked about that. Non-Detection, I could take or leave that one. And I don't want to spend my high-level spell slots on non-detection with a Paladin. I just can't even think of when I would do that. Then level 13, Aura of Purity, which we could get already and wouldn't be my first choice. And Banishment, which is okay. And then 17th level, we have Hold Monster and Scrying. Overall, this is not a great list. Counterspell is the lone situation where I'd say, okay, that's pretty good. That is not going to affect my level 3 ranking. It will affect my level 7 ranking. So we are not going to see that reflected in the stars at level 3. Then we get Channel Divinity. Again, we have 2 things. We get Watcher's Will. You can use your Channel Divinity to invest your presence with the warding power of your faith. As an action, you can choose the number of creatures you can see within 30 feet of you, up to a number equal to your Charisma modifier. For 1 minute, you and the chosen creatures have advantage on Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma saving throws. Now, I love advantage on Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma saving throws. Love it even more to put it on the whole party. My biggest issue with Watcher's Will is actually it is an action setup, and it only lasts a minute. So those are both significant restrictions on this, but it's okay. And then we get Abjure, the Extraplanar, and I'm just going to bring up the star ranking here as well. So I'm going to be giving the 3 stars for level 3 altogether. These are okay. Abjure the Extraplanar, you can use your Channel Divinity to castigate unworldly beings. As an action, you can present your holy symbol to each aberration, celestial, elemental, fey, or fiend within 30 feet of you that can see or hear you must make a wisdom saving throw on a failed save. Their turn for 1 minute or until they take any damage. A turn creature must spend its turns trying to move as far away from you as it can, and it can't willingly end its space, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we turn those kind of creatures. Once again, we're having issues at level 9. Once we get Abjure Foes, there's redundancy there. And from levels 3 through 8, how common are aberrations, celestials, elemental, fey, or fiends? I mean, that's a decent-sized list. There's 5 different types of creatures there. But, things like fiends and, celestials and stuff like that, they tend to be for higher level play. So, up to 8th level, I don't know if we're going to find a lot of them. It depends on the campaign. There's certain campaigns where these will be the enemies. There's certain campaigns where this won't come up a lot. But one way or the other, once we get to level 9, it's not a big deal anymore. But I think they do okay for level 3. And then we have the Oathbreaker. Now, I actually had to kind of think about whether to include the Oathbreaker or not, because technically speaking, the Oathbreaker isn't really an official subclass. In the 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide, they gave a small section on how to create your own subclasses, and they gave some examples of subclasses you might want to create, and that's where the Death Cleric and the Oathbreaker Paladin come from. So they were never really presented as player options. So yeah, and by the way, this was in the NPC section. So these were specifically subclasses that were, here's how you might make your own subclasses for your NPCs. So it is, but again, it's up to your DM. If your DM says they're available for player selection, then you can select them. So I don't know whether to consider Oathbreaker an official subclass or not for D&D. But you know what? I decided to put it on. So there we go. And yeah, Oathbreaker is the bad guy paladin. This is the paladin who's given up on their oaths, and so they are transformed into the anti-paladin, right? And we get our Oathbreaker spells, and we're going to get Hellish Rebuke, which I think is an underrated spell. It's not fantastic, but it's not bad. It's a decent reaction. Inflict Wounds is awful. Just so awful. I don't understand why they decided to nerf it so much in 2014 or in 2024, when in 2014 it was nothing to write home about. But anyway, worthless. At level 5, Crown of Madness, which is not good. Darkness, which is okay, but this isn't a subclass really built around it. Then at level 9, we get Animate Dead, which is a pretty good spell, and Bestow Curse, which isn't. Level 13, we have Blight, which is bad, Confusion, which is okay, and level 17, Contagion, it's okay, I guess, and Dominate Person, this is not a good list. I think the Oathbreaker spells, there's a couple okay spells on there, but overall, I'd say it trends towards the weak side, and there's nothing on there that I consider a big standout. Maybe Animate Dead would be the biggest standout, but compared to the other lists we've seen, this is on the weaker side for sure. Then we get 2 Channel Divinities. The first one is Control Undead. As an action, the Paladin targets one undead creature he or she can see within 30 feet of him or her. The target must make a Wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the target must obey the Paladin's commands for the next 24 hours, or until the Paladin uses this Channel Divinity option again. An undead whose challenge rating is equal or greater than the Paladin's level is immune to the effect. So it's kind of like a Dominate Monster spell, but incredibly restrictive on the potential target, right? They have to be undead. They can't have a challenge rating higher than your level. But within those restrictions, it's kind of like a Dominate Monster, where if they fail, they got to follow your commands for a day, which is pretty cool. So in the cases where you can use Control Undead, I think it's really good. And I think most of the time you'll never get to use it. Or you're going to have to use it on a zombie or something like that, which even then is somewhat cool. So I kind of like Control Undead. Then we get Dreadful Aspect, and I'll just bring up the whole thing. I'll bring up my ranking here too. I'm giving the whole thing 2 stars. As an action, the Paladin channels the darkest emotions and focuses them into a burst of magical menace. Each creature of the choice within 30 feet of the Paladin must make a Wisdom saving throw if it can see the Paladin. And this is basically very similar to the Conquest Paladin's Frighten thing that is eaten up by the level 9 feature. Now, this one is a little bit better than the Conquest one, though it's not a big difference, but it's a little bit better because if they don't take any damage, then they don't get another saving throw as long as they're still within your area of effect, which they're going to be leaving, so I don't know how much that comes into play, but it is a little better. But once again, I'm looking at a feature that gets eaten up by the level 9 features. And now this doesn't happen anymore because they don't give Paladins these kinds of features anymore. But here on these old Paladins, we get features here that become redundant. But at level 3, I think it's okay. And Control Undead, I think, is really cool. I just don't think you're going to get to use it. And that's my problem with that. And then our level 3 features, Hellish Rebuke is okay, and Inflict Wounds sucks. I considered giving Oathbreaker 3 stars at level 3. And I think if you think they were 3 stars, I don't disagree with you. I was again at 2.5, and this time I rounded down to 2. But I could have rounded up to 3. It was close, okay? So if you strongly believe it should have been 3 stars, we're pretty much in agreement. If you think this was a 4-star feature, a 5-star feature, we disagree for what that's worth. But nevertheless, that's all the subclasses for their level 3 features. So how did they rank against each other? So this part you could probably figure out on your own pretty easily, but here's the rankings. So I'll see if I can get, they're all up on screen right now. So number 1, Devotion with 5 stars. Number 2 is Vengeance with 4 stars. Number 3 is Conquest with 3 stars, technically tied with Redemption and Watchers. So all 3 of them are tied for what I consider average features at level 3. Then we have Glory, Ancients, and Oathbreaker with 2. Like I said, Oathbreaker could have been 3. I think I'm presenting these in the order that I presented them in the video, but I'd say the Oathbreaker is a little stronger than Glory and Paladin, or Glory and Ancients at level 3. And then Crown, I think, is the weakest at level 3. All right, so now let's go back and look at level 7. So back up to the top with Oath of Glory. Once again, going to go through the Player's Handbook ones quickly. And Aura of Alacrity, I gave 3 stars. I think it's pretty average. Then we have Oath of the Ancients, and at level 7, I have Aura of Warding. I gave 4 stars. I think it's a little above average. Then we have Oath of Vengeance, and level 7, I gave 2 stars. Don't think it's great. And then Oath of Devotion at level 7, Aura of Devotion, I gave 3 stars. I think it's okay. All right, so now let's get into the ones I need to explain. So back up to Oath of Conquest, level 7, they are going to get, and I'm going to bring up the star rankings here, and then I'm going to explain the star rankings. So I'm giving 4 stars to Aura of Conquest. Starting at 7th level, you constantly emanate a menacing aura while you're not incapacitated. The aura extends from 10 feet from you in every direction, but not through total cover. If a creature is frightened of you, its speed is reduced to 0 while in the aura, and that creature takes psychic damage equal to half your Paladin level if it starts its turn there. At 18th level, the range of this aura increases to 30 feet. This is also a subclass that has its own ways to generate fear at level 7, and then more at level 9. At level 9, they get the Fear spell. If a Conquest Paladin lands the Fear spell on creatures within the aura, they are boned. Because what happens is they have to use their action to try to run away, but they have a speed of 0. So they're stuck, and they just continually take the damage, and they never get another saving throw as long as you keep them in their aura. So it absolutely bones them. The only real hope is that somebody else will break your concentration. And this is a combination I've seen, and it is just really nasty. So yeah, Aura of Conquest is good. A good feature. Then we have Oath of Redemption, and their level 7 feature, and I'll bring this one up, is Aura of the Guardian, and I've given this 2 stars. Starting at 7th level, you can shield others from harm at the cost of your own health. When a creature within 10 feet of you takes damage, you can use your reaction to magically take that damage instead of that creature taking it. This feature doesn't transfer any other effects that might accompany the damage, and this damage can't be reduced in any way. And then at 18th level, it becomes 30 foot. And yeah, I think this is below average. The big problem is that, yes, you are a paladin and you have a D10 hit points, but you are not a fountain of hit points. You just aren't. And as a paladin, there's a good chance you're the one taking as much damage as anybody. So you don't necessarily have the hit points to be using this feature. If other party members had this feature, they might use it on you. So yeah, and it's using your reaction, which you might be looking for more defensive features. I just, yeah, it's rough. But I don't think it's 1 star, because there are times that there is a creature within 10 feet of you that's about to go down. And then you can use this, and maybe they don't go down, and maybe you don't go down either. And in that situation, it's worth using, probably, unless you have a better use of your reaction. So, yeah, I don't love this, but I gave it 2 stars. I did actually even think of 1 star for this, but looking at the other level 7 features, I decided on 2, and I'm going to explain why right now. So just one more time, take a look at this. If you think this is a 1 star feature, then tell me what this next feature is worth. All right, because we're going to go to the Oath of the Crown. So Oath of the Crown, Sword Coast Adventures Guide, they all suck. Here we go. Divine Allegiance, starting at 7th level, when a creature within 5 feet of you takes damage, you can use your reaction to magically substitute your own health for the target of the creature, causing that creature not to take damage. Instead, you take the damage. This damage can't be reduced to prevent it in any way, and no aura increase at level 18. Within 5 feet of you. So it's just objectively worse, and it doesn't scale. So this has got to be 1 star. It's just awful. And I was kind of waffling between 1 and 2 stars for Oath of Redemption, and then I saw this one, and I'm like, no, I guess I'll bump that one up to 2. All right, so Aura of Watchers. Now, if you are a member of the optimization community, you already know that their level 7 feature is getting 5 stars. All right, so I'm just going to bring it up on screen. 5 stars. All right, so first off, they're getting Counterspell at level 9. So that's where I counted is here. That's good, but they wouldn't need Counterspell, and I would still give them 5 stars. You emit an aura of alertness while you aren't incapacitated. When you and any creatures of your choice within 10 feet of you roll initiative, you all gain a bonus to initiative equal to your proficiency bonus, and then aura increase at level 18. Winning initiative is very important. Giving everyone a bonus to their initiative that stacks with other bonuses to an initiative is really good. Now, if you have played Paladins, particularly if you've played Watchers Paladins, there's probably something you've noticed, because Paladins, of course, have Aura Protection, which is very good, 10-foot aura. Aura of the Sentinel, very good, 10-foot aura. But you've probably noticed that with Aura Protection, you, of course, always benefit from it, and with your party allies, it really depends, because people move around on the battlefield, and so often other party members will be making saving throws, and they just won't be in your aura. That changes at level 18 quite a bit, but certainly until level 18, there's a lot of times they're not in your aura. It is a lot easier to have the party together when initiative is rolled. So Aura of the Sentinel will apply to other party members more consistently than Aura Protection will. And it's just, yeah, it is the standout feature for 7th level Paladins. Potentially the standout feature for Paladins, period. It's really, really good. And if you've heard that Oath of Watchers is a really strong subclass, it's because of this, right here, this feature. So Oathbreaker, so there's our level 3. Level 7, Aura of Hate, is also a good feature. They get a good feature at level 7. Starting at 7th level, but there is a good reason why it's not getting 5 stars. Starting at 7th level, the Paladin, as well as any fiends or undead within 10 feet of the Paladin, gain a bonus to melee damage rolls equal to the Paladin's Charisma modifier, minimum of +1. Creature can benefit from this creature from only one paladin at a time, in case you have multiple Oathbreakers in your party, I guess. At 18th level, the range of this aura increases to 30 feet. So, first off, all your damage rolls, assuming you're doing melee attacks, which paladins usually are, have a bonus to damage equal to your charisma, and you're a paladin, so your charisma is good. So you're basically going to have your strength and your charisma as damage modifiers. If you're Oath of the, or a Pact of the Blade, Warlock dip in there, basically you can double your charisma for damage. That's fantastic. It's a huge increase to DPR. Also, we have Animate Dead. Well, they're also going to get that bonus to damage. Also good. We have our Control Undead at level 3, and so maybe we took over like a White or something. Well, then their attacks are getting this bonus as well. Now, I will mention it is melee weapon damage rolls. So it does say weapon, which means that if we take over something like a Wraith or something, you could talk to your DM about whether their like Life Drain ability is considered a melee weapon damage roll, but I wouldn't consider it a weapon. Right? So I probably wouldn't apply it. Fiends, we have no special ability to summon or control fiends. However, maybe we have allies who are fiends. Certainly, if you have an NPC Oathbreaker, there's a good chance they have allies who are fiends. The issue is if you are a PC, you know what two of the most common enemies you're going to face are? Undead and fiends. And then they're going to come up to you, and then they're going to attack you, and they're going to get a bonus to their damage equal to your charisma modifier. That sucks. That's a big downside. That's why this wouldn't be 5 stars. Otherwise, this is huge, right? But honestly, this might even be better if it was just for you and no aura. The aura might be a negative. 4 stars, but still a good feature. So if we look at level 3 and 7, put them together, then this is where we end up. So let's bring that up on the screen. And I should mention, you'll notice that we have some ties here for 6s and 5s. And the way ties are broken is that whichever subclass scored better at level 3 wins the tie. Because I figure if you're playing from level 1 or even from level 3, then you are going to be playing level 3, 4, 5, and 6 before you get to level 7. And, of course, it's better to be stronger at those levels as well. So that's why if there is a tie, whichever one scored better earlier on wins the tie. And that happened right with our 1 and 2 spots. So level 1 is Devotion. They remain in level 1. Level 2, jumped way up, is Watchers. So the Watchers Paladin, of course, because of their aura at level 7, is huge. They get to number 2. Conquest is number 3, but doing pretty good. Then Vengeance Paladin at 4, and a lot of you will be absolutely upset that Vengeance Paladin has fallen all the way to 4, and other people will be upset that Vengeance Paladin is all the way up at 4. And then Ancients Paladin, then the Oathbreaker, then Redemption, then Glory, and then the Crown. And now we're up to level 15. So, once again, let's go back through our Player's Handbook ones. We have Oath of Glory, got Glorious Defense. That was worth 3 stars. Then we had Oath of Ancients, and they get Undying Sentinel. That is worth 2 stars. Then we get Oath of Vengeance, and they get Soul of Vengeance, worth 4 stars. And Oath of Devotion. And at level 15, Smite of Protection, worth 3 stars. So, Conquest. All right. So, level 15, I gave their Scornful Rebuke 3 stars. So, let me explain. Starting at 15th level, those who dare strike you are physically punished for their audacity. Whenever a creature hits you with an attack, the creature takes psychic damage equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of 1, if you are not incapacitated. Now, your charisma modifier at level 15 is probably either a +4 or a +5. It depends on how you build your paladins. In some cases, it might be a +2. But for me, it'd probably be +4 and then going to be +5 in one more level. That's how I would generally build a paladin. It's not a lot of damage. But it depends. It depends. Like, you could be attacked a lot and hit a fair amount. Now, there's only so much you can be hit before you go down. But you could be hit 4 or 5 times, and then you're doing 4 or 5 times your charisma modifier and damage, and then it adds up. So I think this is okay. So Oath of Redemption, level 15. All right, so 2-star feature here. Protective Spirit. Starting at 15th level, a holy presence mends your wounds in battle. You regain hit points equal to a d6 plus half your paladin level if you end your turn in combat with fewer than half your hit points remaining and you aren't incapacitated. So you have to land in that sweet spot of, close to unconscious, but not quite there yet. That's where you have to, and then you get a d6 plus half your paladin level, which isn't a massive amount. I mean, if we consider level 15, that's 7 for half our paladin level plus a d6. So 10 or 11 points. And I would imagine on most turns you're not going to get this because you're either going to have over half your hit points or you're going to be down. So there will be some turns where this comes up and gets a moderate amount of healing. Definitely not useless, but 2 stars. If you got it, if you were also unconscious, that would be another matter entirely. Anyways, Oath of the Crown. And I need to amend something because I was just thinking about something. Spirit Guardians. I didn't take account of that on level 9. I think I just screwed up. I should have taken account of that at level 9. So I have underranked them because I gave them 1 star at level 7. I think because I was just... I read the Redemption level 7 feature, then the Oath of the Crown level feature, and then, of course, I compared the two of them, and this one was worse, and I had not been impressed with the level 7 Redemption feature. And so I felt, well, this one's obviously 1 star. And I threw that down, and I wasn't thinking they get Spirit Guardians at level 9, and I should have taken into account for that at level 7, because we don't get another feature to level 15. Meaning that level 9 feature is going to be most of that time period in between. So that 1 star there, I think should be 3 stars because of Spirit Guardian. So I want to amend that. I believe I gave them 1 star. I gave them 1 star at level 3 and 1 star at level 7. If that had been 3 stars, they would be at 4 stars. That would still place them last. Right? But I should have given them 3. So as we go on in the video, just be aware I should have given them 3 stars at level 7. And they're going to get 2 stars at level 15. You have advantage on saving throws to avoid becoming paralyzed or stunned. Doesn't come up enough, right? Paralyzed and stunned doesn't come up enough. However, they're 2 of the worst possible conditions you could have. So I give it 2 stars because a Paladin, the one nice thing about the Paladin is advantage on saving throws can become pretty useless at high levels, right? I was just watching, Insight Check just did a video talking about Mage Slayer. And one of the things that Jeremy mentions in that video is that a lot of the wisdom saves you make are against being charmed or frightened. And he says, there's a lot of different ways that you can get advantage on that saving throw. And he listed off a bunch of ways. So maybe Mage Slayer isn't going to come up so much. And I commented on his video about this as well, is that it really depends. But there is a good chance that at this point in your career, like up at these levels, advantage doesn't do you any good. Because you have a DC of higher than 20 and your save bonus isn't higher than +0 or maybe +1 or +2. So you have a 0% chance of success, and advantage doesn't change that. You still have 0%. You can roll 100 times and you can't roll a 21, right? So you just cannot succeed, and advantage becomes worthless for certain saving throws. And that could happen with a feature like this, except we're a Paladin. And because we're a Paladin, we're adding a charisma bonus to our saving throws. So there are still creatures that have DC 27 saving throws. That's basically as high as it gets, is DC 27. I mean, in theory, it could get to 30 I think 30 is considered the highest DC that in the 2024 rules that a saving throw can be. But for the most part, I mean, in a campaign, you will be looking at saving throws higher than 20, but probably not higher than 25, which means that we should have a chance of making pretty much any saving throw. So advantage means a lot. So I do think this is worth 2 stars, but it is very circumstantial, and it might not come up at all. But if it does come up, it could be very valuable. As long as advantage helps you make the save. If you fail to save anyways, well, too bad for you, I guess. Okay, so that is Oath of the Crown. On to the Oath of the Watchers. All right, so level 15, Vigilant Rebuke. Violent Rebuke. I guess it might be violent as well. You've learned how to chastise anyone who dares to wield beguilements against you and your wards. When you or a creature you can see within 30 feet of you succeeds on an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throw, you can use your reaction to deal 2d8 plus your charisma modifier force damage to the creature that forced the saving throw. You can see I gave this 2 stars because it's just not that big a deal. So, on with Oathbreaker and past our level 7. Level 15, 4 stars. At 15th level, the Paladin gains resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical weapons. Non-magical weapons isn't a thing anymore in 2024. It's one of the backwards compatibility issues, is that we still have features like this when there's no longer that mechanic. So we don't have, monsters anymore that tell you whether their attacks are magical or not. So you're going to have to talk to your DM about how they want to handle this. They might just have it work. I would just have it work. I just say you gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, full stop. Because that's how most of those features were updated anyways. So that's good. That's like having Barbarian Rage all the time. So that's a 4-star feature as far as I'm concerned. Now I will mention that when you get to those high levels, you will be taking a lot of damage that isn't bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, but you still take those damage types. All right, so that's level 15. Here's how everything ranks when we include all the levels. So here they are, all the levels together, and I've made the amendment to Crown, so it has the correct number of stars, and it's still at the bottom. But yeah, we have Devotion with 11, and so they're still winning. Watchers at 10, they're no longer tied with Devotion. They've fallen 1 behind, and they have a 4-way tie. So Conquest, Vengeance, and Oathbreaker also have 10 stars. And once again, I've explained how those ties are broken. And then we have Ancients and Glory, both with 8 stars. So that's actually a fair drop from 5th to 6th spot. Then Redemption, a little bit behind with 7 stars. And then the Crown behind that with 6 stars. Okay, and that brings us to our capstone. Paladins are special in that they're the only class that gets a subclass feature at level 20. And with Oath of Glory, they give a good one. Living Legend, which I gave above average, 4 stars. And then we get to Oath of Ancients, and at level 20, I gave them also 4 stars. That's right. This one is a short duration one, but very potent. Yeah, so good. Then we have Oath of Vengeance, and Oath of Vengeance I gave 2 stars. Just, it's not as good. Sorry, I mean, look on it on its own. It's okay, but you look at it compared to the other Paladin level 20 features, it's not good. By the way, I did give one Paladin 5 stars at level 20. We'll get there. Oath of Devotion, it was not that subclass. It got 3 stars with Holy Nimbus, which is an average level 20 feature. And then we get onto our subclasses in older source books. So Oath of Conquest. And this is tying up all these subclasses. They get Invincible Conqueror. I have given this 2 stars. At 20th level, you gain the ability to harness extraordinary martial prowess. As an action, you can magically become an avatar of conquest, gaining the following benefits for 1 minute. You have resistance to all damage. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can make 1 additional attack as part of that action. Your melee weapon attacks score a critical hit on a 19 or 20 on a d20. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Now, you might have just heard those benefits and thought, what the hell? How is this only 2 stars? You have resistance to all damage? Great. You have an extra attack on the attack action? Great. The extra critical thing is fine, but I mean, on a Paladin, you can throw a smite on there. So why only 2 stars? And it is in the details. An action to set up, 1 minute duration. That sucks. That is terrible. I do not want to spend my action. And I should mention, in the player's handbook, the level 20 features are all a bonus action to set up. So you can still take your attack action on that turn. Not with this Oath of Conquest. You are very unlikely to be able to set this up before a combat. There might be cases where you can, but often you won't be able to. And then, yeah, it's just going to be really difficult to use, because think about it this way. If you use your first action in a combat to set up Invincible Conqueror, well, you get that extra attack with your attack action, except you're not taking the attack action on turn 1. You lost both those attacks. Maybe more than 2 attacks, depending on your build. Could be up to 4 attacks if you're making a 2-up and fighting build. Then when you take the attack action on turn, you can make 1 additional attack as part of that action. So in the end of the second round, you're 1 action or 1 attack behind. At the end of the third round, you've actually caught up. That's the first point where you actually caught up, and that's only if you're making 2 attacks around. If you're making more than that, it's even worse. And that's the issue. This is so difficult to set up. And it lasts for such a short duration that even though it has really, really good benefits, it's not very good. I honestly think unless I get the chance to set this up before combat, I'm not going to use it. And that's pretty bad. All right? So that's why it's 2 stars. On to Oath of Redemption. Oath of Redemption is the one that gets the 5-star level 20 feature. So here it is. 5 stars. At 20th level, you become an Avatar of Peace, which gives you 2 benefits. You have resistance to all damage dealt by other creatures, their attacks, spells, and other effects. That's almost all damage. I guess if you jump off a building and take falling damage, or a trap maybe would still do damage to you, but pretty much most damage is going to be by other creatures. Whenever a creature hits you with an attack, it takes radiant damage equal to half the damage you took from the attack. That could be a lot of damage. If you attack a creature, cast a spell on it, or deal damage to it by any means but this feature, neither benefit works against that creature until you finish a long rest. Now that, of course, is the big downside here, is that once you attack a creature, then you're not getting these benefits anymore. Thing is that most combats are not against one creature. So you're attacking one creature, and you're getting this benefit from all the other creatures in the combat. And if you lose initiative, you might gain these benefits against that creature on the first round of combat as well, against your target. And this is not a bonus action to set up. It is not an action to set up. There's no setup. This is passive. So this is always on. That's why it's 5 stars. This is a feature that is on all the time. Basically, you get resistance to all damage until you attack that creature. So that's pretty good. And then whenever a creature hits you with an attack, it takes radiant damage equal to half the damage it dealt from the attack. It can be a lot of damage. This is just better than all the other level 20 features for Paladin because it's always on. And then we go to Oath of the Crown. 2 stars. Not a total dud, but not great. At 20th level, your presence on the field of battle is an inspiration to those dedicated to your cause. You can use your action to gain the following benefits for 1 hour. So it's 1 action to set up, just like Oath of Conquest, but instead of 1 minute, we're getting an hour. That's a lot better. All right, I can deal with the 1 action to set up if I get an hour duration. You have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical weapons. Talked about the non-magical weapons before. Your allies have advantage on death saving throws while within 30 feet of you. Whoop-de-doo. You have advantage on wisdom saving throws, as do your allies within 30 feet of you. That's pretty good. And keep in mind that your aura protection is 30 feet. So I talked about advantage on saving throws and the effect of aura protection on that advantage earlier in this video. So that if you watch that part, then you know why I think this is reasonably good. This effect ends early if you're incapacitated or die. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Only 1 use. It's on the weaker side, but I think this is better than average for Oath of the Crown. So it's a 2 star. And then Oath of the Watchers. Yeah, it's another 2-star. So this one, bonus action is set up, 1 minute duration. So if I was to compare this to another level 20 feature, which I have, I'd compare it to Oath of the Ancients, because they also have bonus action set up, 1 minute duration. This is not as good. You gain True Sight with a range of 120 feet. Can be useful. Most of the time, you don't need it. You have advantage on attack rolls against aberrations, celestials, elementals, fae, and fiends. I talked about advantage a lot in my Vengeance Paladin video, advantage on attacks. At level 20, you probably have advantage on your attacks. You maybe not on attack 1. But then, I mean, you've done Blinding Smite or Shining Smite. Then you have advantage on your attacks. And this isn't even against all creatures. When you hit a creature with an attack roll and deal damage to it, you can also force it to make a charisma saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, the creature is magically banished to its native plane of existence if it's not currently there. On a successful save, the creature can't be banished for this feature by 24 hours. This is okay, except most creatures are on their native plane of existence when you hit them, so this does nothing. And for creatures that aren't on their plane of existence, it's a one-time save or suck. And if they save, then they don't have to save against it again. It's probably, along with True Sight, the better of the 3 features. Not that great. This is just not that great. 2 stars. And that brings us to our final subclass, final level. We're about to finish up here. Oathbreaker Paladin. All right, level 20. Here's our 1-star feature at level 20. Oathbreakers. Sorry, at level 20, not so good. At 20th level, the Paladin can, as an action, surround himself or herself. They just said themselves. It's so wordy. With an aura of gloom that lasts for a minute. 1 action, 1 minute. All right, except this one's worse. The aura reduces any bright light in a 30-foot radius around the Paladin to dim light. Whoop-de-doo. Whenever an enemy that is frightened by the Paladin starts its turn in the aura, it takes 4d10 psychic damage. Okay. That's all. I mean, it's not a lot of damage. And they have to be frightened at a level where a lot of things are immune to being frightened. Additionally, the Paladin and creatures he or she chooses in the aura are draped in deeper shadow. Creatures that rely on sight have disadvantage on attack rolls against creature draped in this shadow. Okay. While this aura lasts, the Paladin can use a bonus action on his or her turn to cause the shadows in the aura to attack one creature. You don't have your bonus action. This is useless, right? The damage, by the way, is 3d10 plus the Paladin's charisma modifier. That's probably less than you're doing with your average smite at this level, because you're not casting first level smites anymore. The best thing here is probably that you can cause disadvantage to attack creatures in your aura that you've draped in shadows. Except we're talking about creatures that rely on sight, which is, I mean, a lot of creatures have blind sight at high level too. Yeah, this is the weakest one. What it comes down to is this isn't entirely useless. I'm not going to argue that it's entirely useless. But if we look at all the Paladin level 20 features, this is the weakest one. And so here's our final listing. All right. And this includes all 20 levels. And there are a lot of ties. Now, I explained ties can be broken by which subclass did better earlier on. But nevertheless, the total number of stars is tied for a lot of Paladins. This was not planned. Not planned by me. Just the way it worked out. Devotion wins. 14 stars, 2 stars ahead of number 2. So, yeah, Devotion is fantastic. Then we have Watchers, then Conquest, then Vengeance, then Ancients, then Glory, then Redemption. All with 12 stars. So, most subclasses got 12 stars, which is the average, right? I guess that's the way it should be. But yeah, I was shocked how many 12s there were. Then we have Oathbreaker, 1 lower with an 11. All right. And then the Crown, which I didn't correct on this one, should have 3 stars at level 7. So it should be 8 stars. 8 is low, really low. So that's why you don't see a lot of Crown Oath of the Crown Paladins. That book just it was where subclasses went to die. Looking forward to new Forgotten Realms books coming out, by the way. But nevertheless, these are our subclasses, and shouldn't be a shock as to which subclasses you tend to see a lot of. Of the new player's handbook, the Paladin I see played the most is Devotion, not just by me, but by other people. Not a surprise. Before the new player's handbook, the Paladin I saw the most was Watchers. And again, next on the list. And then Conquest, which is next on the list. And then Vengeance, which is next on the list. So, yeah, not huge surprises here to me in terms of the ranking, but definitely a surprise in terms of the groupings of 12s. 2, 4, 6 of 9 subclasses essentially tying at level 20. So that's the Paladins. I will be talking about Paladin multiclassing in my next video in this series, which will probably be my video after next. So I hope you will stay tuned for that. Otherwise, until next time, I'm going to sit back, relax, and have some fun. D&D's for everyone. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.